My belief is like, you don't have to agree with me completely, but my belief is like, if you're selling IUL right now, you're where I was when I was selling. You just don't know what you don't know. Okay. That's my belief. Okay. And the reason I create all the content I do isn't to sell or bash or whatever. It's to try to save people who are where I was. That's it.
Got it.
That's it.
Okay. What is up? Welcome back to the CA Power Player Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. Man, I got another guest in town, but not just any guest, man. This guy has a crazy resume, extremely impressive, doing some big numbers, and one of the more like life insurance educational based brands in the industry. Ton of respect for what he's doing. We'll disagree a little bit. He'll disagree with a lot of life insurance guys in our industry. So, you know what I mean? So it's going to be a good podcast from that angle. And just to kind of like throw a couple things out, okay? Him and his wife, Hannah, actually their 18th wedding anniversary is today, which is really cool at the time we're filming this. So give them some love. Happy anniversary in the comments. Also, they live in Dominican full-time, right? Dominican Republic, right? Which is pretty cool. In the jungle, up in a no, just kidding, but literally in Dominican. He was number 65 in the world as an online poker player at one point. And now is building a YouTube channel and helping a ton of clients and agents and advisors through life insurance strategies on his YouTube channel and brand Life 180. Please welcome Chris Kirkpatrick.
What's going on?
What's up, bud?
It's awesome being here.
Dude, finally.
I know. We've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah, dude. It's been a minute.
And so we just driving across the country. You are conveniently located right in the center of it all.
True.
And so it's awesome to be able to connect.
Yeah, it was great. You're like, dude, I'm gonna be in Vegas. I'm playing the WS World Series poker stuff in Vegas, and I think we're gonna drive, and we'd shoot. I mean, Springfield's on the way. I'd love to stop by. I'm like, yes, bro.
It was perfect. It was
amazing.
Perfect. I got my butt kicked sufficiently at the World Series this year. It was not so good, but that's part of poker, right?
True.
Like sometimes you just get these runs and it just doesn't go well. And that was it was a humbling week for me.
Yeah.
That's cool.
True of sales too, I guess.
Yeah,
you know, for the most part.
Totally.
You know, you don't get them all, right?
Yeah.
But and you don't want to get them all.
No.
That's an interesting topic too that we may end up going down. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. No, I think the poker thing too is like a lot of people. I've been trying to figure out how to make like a really good personal finance poker video because there's so many correlations. I think one of the things that makes me really good at the money perspective stuff and coaching people, and with my overall economic philosophy is keep your money safe.
Yep.
Build an opportunity fund, and when you find the right opportunity, bet big, right? And it's just like poker.
That's
you manage
good.
your bankroll appropriately. You keep your bankroll safe, and you play the right tournaments. And these tournaments, if you know anything about poker tournaments compared to cash games, they create what's called asymmetric risk, right? Because like I can buy into a tournament for 10,000, like at the main event. First place is 10 million, right? So I could literally play 1,000 tournaments, and if I just win one, I'm even, right? So the asymmetric risk, like, but in order to do that, you got to be able to manage your bankroll appropriately to make sure you don't go broke in the process, right? And so, it being able to keep money safe and then bet big at the right times to get big returns. Like I'd rather keep and that's why I love life insurance and the way that we teach people to do it and mix life insurance with real estate investing and all these different things and business. Just keep your money safe as your liquid reserve capital account or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And you know, earn 4%, earn 4.5% over a long period of time. But then when you want to find opportunity, go make 200-300% in a a year period. I'll take that all day long.
I'll take that too. Yes.
So,
here's my money.
That's just me.
Let's do that.
You know, that's just it. So.
He also, for those that are listening, I want to kind of get in this early so that
let's do it.
He's very, I mean, he there's always a lot of debates with about like IUL versus whole life. IUL is a super hot topic. It's very mainstream.
Sure.
Everybody thinks it's like the best thing since sliced bread, the greatest product ever invented in the history of the world for life insurance. What's your initial thoughts? Actually, before we go to that, We're going to get to that in a little bit. You guys got to
Okay.
stick around for that, because I can promise you his opinion is going to, if it probably surprise you compared to most people they've heard. I would say that's fair.
Yeah.
They hear a lot of people and everybody's like,
I think,
I don't know.
I think IUL is, there's no debating. IUL is the most popular, fastest growing
No doubt.
product in the industry right now. We could talk and debate about, is
Sure.
that good or bad?
in your opinion, it's scary.
It's scary. I think, well, if you want me to get right into my opinion, like my opinion is I think it's dangerous.
Okay.
I
So
think
don't go
it's-
anymore, because I want to
okay.
come back to this.
I
Okay.
think
But
it's
one thing I want to
dangerous.
go back to
Sure.
is you're like, you've done well at jumping into the space,
Mm-hmm.
learning it, selling it, building a brand, building an agency. What did that look like? Coming from, like, what did you do? What have you done, like your career? Like,
Also, my background. So when I was a professional poker player before I got into this business. In 2009, I started in the business, but I started kind of
in
with-
insurance.
in
Yeah,
life
yeah,
insurance.
yeah.
I started with like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, right? I was still playing poker, but I kind of saw the writing on the wall where like online poker got shut down. So I was kind of playing live, but I knew I didn't want to play live forever. And so just lifestyle wise, it just wasn't what I was looking to do. And so then I was getting my first job in this business. I don't know if you know this or not. I was an IUL agent.
Shut
So
up.
I cut my teeth with the top IUL company in the country.
What?
And so I got Rookie of the Year my first year.
Are you able to say who that is or no? You don't have to.
National Life Group.
Okay.
So
Got it. A big name when it comes to just
yeah,
IUL in
the-
general, for sure.
Exactly.
Yes,
So
yes.
I got started in an agency in Vermont as a career agent with National
So you
Life
did
Group.
really well, dude. That's
And
awesome.
I got Rookie of the Year my first year for the entire country.
Wow.
And then
crazy.
and I was all in.
What did your result? What was your production?
Well, so hold on. I'll tell you the
okay,
story,
okay.
and I'll get into it. So here's what happened. 2009. You remember what was going on in the world in 2009? It was a pretty scary time. Like we're coming out of
Correct.
the recession, and I remember going in. So my wife was Series 7.
Wow.
all that. And
Who's really awesome and impressive. by
she's
the way.
awesome. Yeah, she's
wife Hannah.
She
She's great.
won't tell you. She was Mrs. American too in 2021. Like she won the Mrs. like the married version of like.
Seriously.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Whoa, dude.
But
wow, that's so cool.
so you have to bust her chops.
I
when
will.
comes
She
back.
didn't even.
Yeah,
she
I
was.
know.
She was.
It's-
She was
it's
bragging on
funny.
you the whole
I
time,
know,
and I
I
didn't
know.
even.
She's way better than me. But
That's
the
cool. That's cool.
so but she was all in the business, and her dad had been a broker, an advisor for a big wirehouse firm for 35 years.
Okay.
And he was looking for her to be the succession plan. And she just kind of like got into the business, was like, I'm not going to do it. Like, I can't do this. I hate this job. I
Wow.
don't like, she doesn't like numbers. She doesn't like sales. She doesn't like, she just wants to be her, and like whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'll do it. Like, I need to do something. Like, I'm not going to play poker for a living for much longer. Let me just go do that. So I walked in to the interview with his manager, Ray, and Ray comes up to me and he's like looking at my resume, which by the way was not much. I just got done playing poker for a
Poker
living.
player.
Poker, right? And I'm good with numbers. I'm good with people, poker.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and he's like, Chris, like, I really think you'll do well, but in case you haven't looked around, the economy isn't great. Our industry just went through a reckoning, basically. If I hire you right now, they're going to fire me. And I'm like, well, what do I do?
Shut up.
Like, and I'm like, but my father-in-law wants me to be a succession plan. Like, what do I, he's like, there's nothing I can do to help you. Like, and I'm like,
Because
what?
they were paying a base or something.
Yeah, it was a base, and
Got it,
yeah,
got it,
and
got it.
it's just, and it's the wirehouse, it's W-2 kind of position, and it was what it was.
Understood. I'm like, because most people will take as many commission-only 1099 agents as they can get.
So that's the life insurance space, right? It's like it's 1099 or W-2S statutory,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so what happened is he goes, I was like, what do I do, Ray? He goes, go get a job in a life insurance company. If you can show that you can make it work there, then I'll hire you in a year. I'm like, done.
Well, yeah, what were you thinking when you heard that too? Because you're very competitive.
I was like, done. I'll be here in a year. Like that was my mindset. And I was like, I knew I wanted to be there. And quite frankly, my father-in-law had built a really successful business managing a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so it would have been a really awesome transition. Easy, like, kind of easy street, if you will.
Yeah.
And so then I remember when I first started at National Life, I started learning about this thing called Index Universal Life. Now, right now in 2024.
So it's been around for a long time for those that are new to the industry. Yeah.
As we're filming this in 2024, one of the things to understand is there's over 70 companies that sell Index Universal Life. Okay?
Wow.
Back then, there were 14. That's it. Okay? And so we're at the very, very early parts. I mean, IUL was created in 1997 by Transamerica, but it wasn't until 2009 after the recession that it actually got any kind of market share that was worth even considering it a viable product in the business, right? And so 2009, it hit 6% market share for cash value life insurance, and it's kind of gone up from there. And now it's, I don't know what the percentage is right now, but it's the fastest growing in the industry. But got Rookie of the Year my first year, did a couple 100,000 in, in
great for
production for career agent, and this was no social media, no nothing, just relationships, no ad buying, no lead. I didn't buy any leads. I didn't do, I just totally core, totally.
Did they have like some little bonuses for production and stuff?
Yeah.
Did you end up hitting 6 figures in commissions that year?
Oh God. Yeah.
That's awesome. Let's go.
Yeah. I think my first year, it was like 160 or something like that. My first year. Yeah. And it was awesome.
Good start.
It was great.
And how much, for reference, how much were you making? Also, I'm sorry, I'm jumping over the place. You guys are like, you have two ADHD guys. This is going to be crazy, okay? How much money were you making playing poker for reference?
A lot. Like 350 to 400 a year. Yeah. Pretty much tax-free.
So you technically took a,
big pay cut. And that was a big thing for me. Like taking that, it was a big step backwards. Yeah. But it was a lifestyle thing. Because online poker was going away. And for me, that was my lifestyle, and I was playing 24 tournaments at a time, and so I could play in a day what I would play in 8 months live. And so to me, the variance that's involved with poker and all this stuff, it just live was not conducive to what I was looking to accomplish. And so
you felt like you were able to, maybe predict's the wrong word, but you could predict the outcome better online because of the amount of games you were playing and how you were playing.
Well, coming from the pandemic, right? We could just flatten the curve, right? It's there's a lot of variance, ups and downs in poker. And what happens is when you can play a lot of tournaments, you're going to have a lot of bad things happen. You're going to hit bad swings where 30, 40 tournaments in a row you don't do well in, but you get through those 30 to 40 tournaments in 2 to 3 days. You know what I mean? Versus live, that'll take me 3 months.
Yeah.
And so I always tell people, the hardest part about live poker is, even if you're good at bankroll management, is the psychology behind keeping your wits about you and keeping mentally sane. Because I don't care who you are, I can go through a 40 tournament downswing or even 100 tournament downswing online.
Yes.
That'll take me 4 days, and I can manage that. But if I go through that same variance live, that's going to be a year of my life. And if you go a year of just getting beat and getting beat and getting beat, and you have no wins or very few wins, and you just you start to question yourself, you start to doubt yourself, you start to question everything that you're doing, the way you manage your life and your money and your time and all that stuff starts to come into question, and that creates bad human decision.
You literally just you were describing poker, and I was thinking about being an insurance agent.
That's what I'm saying.
I need more appointments quicker.
Yeah.
Right? So I can get through those and I can learn faster. And then you also mentioned the mental aspect. Dude, if I go through a week, I remember a day where I literally had 9 appointments booked this day, right? And I was like, I'm going to crush it. This is amazing.
Yep.
And I go and half of them don't show up and I don't sell anything.
Yep.
And I'm like,
it's demoralizing.
Yeah, dude, it is. But if I would, but at least I was doing it over a day, and not a week.
Bang. Yep.
Or a month for some agents.
Well, that's the old adage is I just believe people, when you get in this business, you can't be an insurance agent. You have to be an entrepreneur. And you have to go at your business and build your business like you're an entrepreneur, not an agent.
Yes.
And when you do that, what happens is you go into this, and all entrepreneurs do is they want to fail fast. You can't be scared of failure. You have to be looking to put yourself in positions where you're willing to fail. My favorite quote, and I have a thing in my office, nobody ever sees it because it's like what I look at every day, but my favorite quote in the world is, if it's worth doing poorly until you're good at it. And it's like, we all get into this business not being amazing at what we're doing.
Why do we expect to be amazing though?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, agents expect to be really good really quick. And then they're frustrated and disappointed and surprised when they don't do well.
There's no doubt.
It's like, dude, when you rode a bike, when you first started playing poker, when you did anything.
Right. I mean, what did they say? The average kid, when they're learning to walk, falls on their face over 10,000 times. And they just keep getting back up, and they keep getting back up, and they don't doubt,
because
they
they know
the
amount of
eventually they're going
repetitions
to
in
walk.
a day where they're trying to do that,
Right.
I guess.
And they know they're going to walk. They know they're going to get up. They know they're going to get there. And it's not even, they don't even know, it's their subconscious.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's a great book. It's called The Ant and the Elephant. And it's all about the power of the subconscious mind. And so I talk about this all the time because I think it's one of the most important things, is that,
cool.
Did you know that when you make a conscious decision, I think this is one of the challenges, when agents get into the business, they make conscious decisions like, okay, well, let's face it. First of all, not many agents grow up being like, you know what I want to be? Well, we didn't all grow up with dads,
True.
Right?
Correct.
And so maybe you grew up and you were like, damn, I got it figured out. I'm hoping my kids want to take over for me, right?
Yeah,
like I've got 3 kids.
yeah.
My oldest kid is 13, like I'm hoping she wants to work in the business and that I can mentor her and all these things.
Absolutely.
But who knows? Most people don't grow up being like, you know what I want to be when I get older? An insurance agent, right?
Yeah.
Most people fall into this by default based on need. Not because they love the business, not because they believe in it a ton, because they need to make money.
Correct.
Because it's the easiest, lowest hanging fruit for them to get in, to be able to have an opportunity to make
It's
money.
so easy to become a licensed insurance agent.
It's so simple. Now, hopefully, when people get into the business, their belief builds, right? That's the goal. As their belief builds, then their effectiveness will improve, right? That's the way I look at it. Now, the thing that I love is this book, The Ant and the Elephant. Vincent Pacenti, he's an Olympic gold medalist downhill skier.
Okay.
He wrote this book, and he's basically saying they've done studies on the power of the subconscious mind. And what it says is when we make a conscious decision, and it's kind of like why we can't like grit our way through, why most people's like New Year's resolutions are dead within like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
When we make a conscious decision, we have 4 million neurons in our brain firing off, right? And that sounds like a lot, but subconsciously, our subconscious habits, these are the things that we've just are instilled in us deep in our subconscious. 4 billion neurons a second are going, right? And so what happens is us thinking that we just have the ability to like consciously plow our way through things and just grit our, just like kind of tough it out and just work our way through stuff without reprogramming our why and our subconscious and understanding like the deeper nuanced elements of why we're doing what we're doing. That's what's going to reprogram our subconscious. And that's it. People thinking they're going to be able to just like consciously override their subconscious by making these decisions. It's the reasons why, people fail. And it's the equivalent of an ant sitting on the head of an elephant thinking it has the ability to steer the elephant. That's why the book, The Ant and the Elephant, came from.
That's cool.
That's
and
good. So it's just one of those things. Like I think when people get into this business, I think, training, mentorship, product education, but more than anything, I think, and I love your 8%, 92% of agents fail within 3 years, right?
Correct.
Period.
It's crazy.
And we could argue, or we would probably agree on 99% of the stuff. Probably. But my thoughts on this are the reason people fail is because they don't believe enough in what they're doing.
Hard to
Period.
that. Yeah.
And you could take the training, you could take the education, I believe that we have a responsibility in this business, and that if you don't find the belief in what you do and find a responsibility, like, who Dean Graziosi is?
Yeah.
So Dean's a good dude. And so like, I remember talking with him one time and he's like, Chris, good marketing is simple. Good marketing is simply entering the mind of the person that you're trying to sell to, right? Entering the conversation going on inside of the mind of the person you're trying to sell, right? Period.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so like, that's all we have to do is figure out like, what are people wanting? What are the things that are holding people back? What are their self-limiting beliefs? What's keeping them up at night? Like all these things. And for me, I have to truly believe, can I can I like help them solve that problem? That's where the entrepreneurism comes in. Entrepreneurs solve problems, right? I'm trying to identify problems and challenges people are having and then articulate those solutions. And you have to believe, the other thing he says is like, you have to believe so much in what you do that not sharing it with people would be doing them a disservice. Right?
Yes.
But how many people just try to sell? Right. And listen, there are situations and circumstances, we were just talking before we started recording, like selling is important. My personal style is less selling and more just what I would call influencing, right? Would be me sitting across the table from you, trying to gather information, help you build a vision, help you get clear on what you're looking, to create in your life, and, thinking from a long-term perspective, reverse engineering that, and then helping show you and influencing you to think in maybe a bit of a different way. And I just believe my job is to help people align their money with their values and beliefs. But most people have a hard time doing that because if you don't even know what you value and believe, aligning your money with that is,
so true. Also too, like so many agents, we were talking about this earlier, are naturally more transactional.
Oh yeah.
My dad always used to call it like a policy peddler,
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on that with the typical style that's being taught versus yours?
I would say that for people selling certain types of insurances, then the transactional sales is okay. I mean, it's, you find somebody that needs mortgage protection, you find somebody that needs final expense, and it's very clear. And there's very and the reason I think it's okay too is like, you're never going to hurt anybody, right? Like you're going to sell somebody a term policy or a whole life policy that's a guaranteed issue, simplified issue, whatever it is. And we're talking smaller policies. The premium amounts are sometimes bigger because we're talking older people. It's a different need. You know what I mean?
I guess unless they're in like bad health and they're outside of their contestability period.
Sure.
And then,
that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so, but like, I feel like it's harder to hurt people and whatever.
Because at the end of the day, if they pass away, their family still gets a check.
Sure, exactly.
Still life insurance,
And I think where it gets more complicated is on the whole life versus IUL conversation.
Let's do that now.
I think that's where it gets more complicated because, why
does it get more complicated? Because some would say, well, an IUL, and the average agent, I'm gonna just keep it crazy basic. They're gonna say an IUL is amazing because everybody says it's amazing. It's my manager in my company's like, this is what you should sell, and so I'm buying leads for that, which is cool. Maybe from CABOOM, phenomenal. But then they're like, well, you put money in, and the way they sell it, it's like, okay, you pay premiums, the policy grows, you have a death benefit, but it's not a lot. But then later in life, when you're in retirement, you just start taking out money as income tax free, and it's millions compared to what you put in.
Is it?
I don't know.
Or is that just what it illustrates?
Yeah, that's the normal.
That's how it's sold.
Correct.
Yeah, because that's how it's illustrated.
Yeah.
So there's
This is interesting. This is gonna be good.
This is
this could go on for hours.
This is where this is where I need my vibe board that I usually make my content on because it's a very visual thing, right? And it's a very
he's got a cool setup on his channel. He does. Yeah.
Thank you.
And he got a cool reaction video to Cody Askins on there about IUL. You know, that which is good.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of what kind of spurred this too.
It did. It did. Yeah.
And to your honestly, I was telling my wife on the way here, I'm like, I have more respect for you than almost anybody in the industry that I mean, I got some really tight people, but I'm sure. From people that I don't know very well,
correct.
Because most people, when I do a reaction video, they'll clap back or they'll hide.
Correct.
You've done some videos with some people that have kind of come at me and then I come back at them and then they ghost me and they hide.
Yeah.
My belief is and the reason I do what I do is I want to have an open dialogue. I want to have an open conversation.
Which I love that.
You know what I mean?
Respect the heck out of that.
You and I don't have to agree on everything. We'll still walk out of here friends. It's totally cool. You do your business, I'll do my business, and whatever.
100%.
I think what I love about what we're doing right here is just creating content that whether you agree with me or not, hopefully you're thinking about things a little bit differently, and we're getting to a second level of critical thinking that whatever.
Correct. Well, and on that note, really quick too, while we're on it, when somebody sent me the reaction video, right? This was Chris on his channel.
Yeah.
I put up a video about like 3 ways to sell IUL.
Yeah.
Basics and promoting our CABOOM Leads, right?
Yep.
And I did this video, and then somebody probably sent it to you.
Yep. I had a whole team of people because I have a reaction thing, right? And I have like agents.
A lot of reaction.
Agents
videos.
can submit videos to me that they want me to like break down because when I react, I try to educate through. Like when and you saw
they're
probably
not
in yours.
short videos. Like you're taking your time.
Yeah, because when I hear you say something that is not right, I don't just be like, oh, that guy is an idiot or whatever. I just like, all right, here's what he said.
Yeah.
Here's the truth. Here's how it works, or here's maybe what he missed, or here's what he intended. Like I try to give clarity, right?
When I got that video, or somebody sent it to me after you reacted to me. I got that video, and I'm like, I know Chris. Let's see where this goes. Yeah. Right? And we're not like best friends.
No,
we're just acquaintances.
Sure.
A little bit over the last year-ish or whatever.
Yep.
And maybe a little bit longer, but not long. And I got it, and I was like, what's funny is I was sent the video right as I was like getting dressed to go to some like party or something. Like I was literally like hopping in the shower, and then like going to some birthday party or dinner. I don't even remember what it was. My wife would remember, but I don't have a clue. And I'm like, gosh dang it, I really want to watch this video right now. So I'm like trying to watch it while I'm getting dressed. And then I'm like, dude, I loved it. Like, props. And so then I think I did, I was like.
You shot me a text message.
Yeah. Was it an email or a text?
Text.
Okay, good.
Yep.
I had to go find your number, probably in our system, because I lost a bunch of contacts, thousands of contacts on my phone when I switched phones, which was really annoying. So I found you, shot you a text. And then, then we started talking further. But you're right. Most people get so offended. Dude, I don't want to live a life where I'm constantly negative or I'm constantly worried or like I also want to get to where I'm confident in my own abilities to communicate and have a dialogue with somebody. Yeah, there's things that, dude, there's things that I could have a conversation on that'd be easier for me. There's things that you could, converse about, be easier for 100%. You. But I like that, and I like your style, you know? Like, now, does everybody respect it and love it?
No.
But that's okay. Like, dude, everybody's got their own thing. And I think that you've built a really good brand doing it the way you do it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just cool.
And like, it's funny. I feel like I'm one of the more misinterpreted people
I'm sure
in the business because like if you watch
I'm up there, by the way.
Yeah. Like, well, I feel like if you watch my channel, I'm very polarizing in this topic about IUL versus whole life.
Correct.
Right. And there's no doubt, I'm not going to deny it. If you
are, yeah.
My wife will tell you, my wife told you when she walked in, she goes, you start talking on this topic, you're going to see a different person emerge.
Correct.
Correct. Aside from this topic, I'm probably the easiest going, like most laid back, like whatever.
Yeah, I see that as well. So can I ask a question then?
Sure.
Because this isn't meaning, maybe a little, but okay. I bet there's a lot of people in the industry that think that Chris Kirkpatrick is doing IUL versus whole life and taking such maybe not a stance, but an opinion that he's doing it just to get attention.
Oh, that's what everybody thinks.
Right?
Like, I would say 90% of people think that.
Yeah.
And it's nothing could be further from the truth.
After hearing you and getting to know you, I don't. Now, does it happen? Sure. It's great. It's good from a marketing angle.
Yeah.
But you actually believe it.
That's the thing is like, so just kind of go back to my story a little bit just to land the plane, and I'll try to be quick, is like, so 6 months into starting in my rookie of the year kind of campaign, so to speak, for my first year, I bought into the IUL story so deep that I went to my father-in-law and said, no can do. I'm never going to be able to do. I believe so much in
this I don't even need to do that anymore.
About upside potential and downside protection and like,
because you were going to leave in a year and go get your securities license.
And so and I got my securities license while I was working in the insurance space as a career agent. I got with Equity Services, the brokerage. Like, I wanted to make it so like after that year I could like plug and play, just like slide on over, you know what I mean? And 6 months in, I remember just being like, I could never make the shift. As magical as this IUL thing is, how could I ever put people's money in the market like that? Like I was bought in so huge that I walked away from a family legacy basically that I would have inherited from my father-in-law.
Yeah.
You know, and so like when you have success in this business, you get promoted. So
correct.
The next year
Sometimes
I
even
became
before you should be promoted.
Yep.
A lot of times.
So right, and like so the next year they made me a manager of like a sales team.
I always make a joke about this. Like you have any success, you
Oh,
make
man.
12 cents, you're in charge.
It's
You're
crazy.
training everyone.
It's crazy.
That's so good.
It's crazy. And so that happened, and then they started this like new development program, and I got into that, and then and it was against 27 other managers, everybody building their team, and it was in 2011.
It was a competition?
It was like a new manager training program.
Okay.
And there were 27 new managers around, like it was they were working on expanding the career program, right?
Got it.
I think they've pivoted and gone a different direction, more independent IMO model now, national life.
Which we're seeing that happen
with all the other things.
over the industry, yeah.
But back then, this was like a real concerted effort to like develop the career channel. And so there were 27 of us in it, and and you were judged based on agents recruited, total premium and total production of your team. And there was a year-long thing, and I was in Vermont competing against New York City, Miami, and we won. And we won.
I don't even know where Vermont is. I just know it's up in the Northeast.
Way northeast, like Montreal. Like just south of Montreal.
Jeez,
and so we did that. And so then boom, before you know it, I was like director of business development, and my job was to go around and train career agencies. And I was like the dude training and developing a lot of the career spots.
That's all happening quick too.
It was fast, and it was awesome. But then we had to find a sales system, and we ended up going with Circle of Wealth. I don't know if you're familiar with Circle of Wealth, Don Blanton, whatever. Awesome
Like I've heard
software.
of it vaguely.
And Don Blanton is just a great guy.
This isn't Blanton's whiskey. This is
No, totally different. But he's a good old Southern boy, you know, and cool. he's just a really, really solid human being. He's one of the best people in the industry, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
And when I was down there doing the master mentorship program with him, I was like, Don, you're always talking about whole life. Why don't you talk more about IUL? What's wrong with you? Like, you're missing the boat. And he looks at me, he's like, son, I've been in this business a long time. Like, you know, and he's like, you don't know what you don't know. And I'm like, no.
And you were coming at him a little?
I'm coming at him as the IUL guy, right? And this is like one of the OGs of the whole life space, right?
Oh my God.
And I'm coming at him as the IUL guy, like defending IUL, and like, I think you're missing the boat. And so he was like, I think you don't know what you're talking about, basically. And he was super kind about it, but he's like, you got to ask some questions. He's like,
would you have been as kind as he was to you now, to somebody else?
Yeah, I think so. I always give people a chance.
That's cool.
You know,
that's cool.
And
he in his defense, he was like, you know what?
Yeah,
this guy's been in the industry forever. I've been in the industry forever.
Yeah.
And maybe he took I'm curious what happened next, because.
Well, so he basically gave me a list of questions to ask. And about how IUL really works.
That's a great way to help, like shift someone's thinking versus like barking at them.
Yep.
Just give them some food for thought to think it through or ask other people. That's good.
Exactly.
That's good.
And so he gave me these questions to ask, and we're probably a lot alike in this way. As soon as my brain started going down this path, I was like, you can't unthink it, right?
Yeah.
It's there. It's like a seed had been planted and it was growing, and I had to figure out the answers. And so I went down, I talked to some of the key people in home office, and I started asking these questions. And what came about was I had this epiphany moment where I realized I wasn't selling what I thought I was selling. Wow. I wasn't selling what the company was training me that I was selling. I was pitching all the upside, all the good positives,
and
all
the training all these.
And I was training everybody to this, and it's the training that's happening to this day, you know, all around the country. And then when I had these moments, and I realized like this wasn't in alignment with what I really wanted to stand for, and what I didn't even know. By the way, I still did not know a lot about whole life insurance at the time.
Yeah.
All I knew was when I went and I talked to Don, and he was like, this is a better alternative. His whole life is a better alternative to that, right? To IUL. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but I know I can't do this anymore. So after 4.5 years of doing it and selling millions in premium, like over those 4.5 years, to people I love, to business, to people I respect, to to relationships that mattered to me a lot, I had to pull the ripcord. And I remember being at President's Club, and they were like, I was about to get a GA position potentially. Like it was like,
that was like a territory or something.
Yeah, like down in Austin, and it was just one of those things where I had to make a decision. Was I going to keep going that path, or was I going to leave? And thank God my wife was like, I know you, like you're not going to be able to, like that thread of disillusionment with what you're doing is already there, and you're not going to be able to like. And I was like, but at the time I was 34 years old, and I'm like, you don't, right? I'm like, you don't get to this place at 34 with a Fortune 500, like, I'm like, don't you realize how blessed we've been to even be in this space, to get to this place, you know? And like, it felt irresponsible to like step away from it. And so long story short, I pulled the ripcord, we stepped away. I started Life 180.
This was how long ago?
2014. So there's a story there.
Okay.
So I started Life 180. And this is going to this is going to answer like all the questions. Okay, so it's full circle. Started Life 180 in 2014. I got sued by National Life for non-compete.
Oh no. And
took 2 years and a lot of money to fight them, but I won the lawsuit. But in the process,
I hate lawsuits.
It hurt me a lot. I hate lawsuits. I mean, it hurt a lot. Emotionally, spiritually, energetically, production-wise, the distraction, and it was what it was, and it was a non-compete. And then after I was threatened again with another suit, that was like a non-disclosure agreement suit. So basically, all the things that I learned about IUL, they were trying to tell me were proprietary. I wasn't allowed to share it, according to my development contract that I had. It was what it was. So I get hit with this again, and I go to my attorney, and I'm like, what do I do? Like, I just won this lawsuit, but they're burying me financially. Like, and it was one of those things where it was, you know, I had to make a decision, and he basically said, Chris, there's two directions you can go. You can keep your mouth shut, you know, and
that's totally you, by the way.
And right. And you keep your mouth shut and just sell and don't talk about IUL at all. And whatever, or you give up your license, because everything in your contract, the only legal thing they have at you is, the only way they can come at you is if you're breaching the contract because you're in the industry and you have something to gain from selling it. That was what the contract was all around.
I'm sure you're ready to just totally leave too.
I literally the next day gave up my license.
No.
Yep. I did.
I did not think how this story was going to end.
And that's what started. That's what really. Oh my God. I had started the YouTube channel before, but it was mostly like me sharing.
I didn't know you started it way back then.
Yeah. I had no idea. I started in 2016, but it was like, it wasn't really a business, you know. It was so I started the YouTube channel a little bit when I launched Life 180, but the people didn't know it back then. But I was like just bogged down with this lawsuit and dealing with all these things at the same time, like doing anything from a building perspective like that. That was at the time so outside of my comfort zone, and like technology back then, everything was just harder 10 years ago than it is now, right? Yeah. And so then I gave up my license, and I was like, you know what? I'm dedicating this channel to educating people about IUL versus whole life. With no license. And it was my pay it forward moment. So then I went out and I was like, what am I going to do? I can't sell life insurance anymore. So I became a certified partner with ClickFunnels, and we launched a funnel agency. Cool. And that's how I made my living until the pandemic. And then, all the while, if you go back, I was making maybe one video a month. IUL versus whole life, here's how IUL works, the lies about IUL, and all these things. Dang. And it was just my way of paying forward to the industry what I had learned, right? If it was my going back saying, I know anybody that stays in this business and sells IUL long enough, if they have integrity, they're going to come to the same conclusions that I come to. Wow. That's my mindset. And so that's why when people see my content and how bold I am and how intense I am about it, it's because for me, it's very personal. And for me, I'm doing it to save. I'm not doing it to sell life insurance. Do we get some life insurance sales? Sure, obviously. Yeah. Like we have people that say, I have an IUL. Will you evaluate it for me?
I'm
and
curious
blah, blah,
how
blah,
much
blah,
that
blah.
happens.
A lot. It happens a lot. I
keep
see,
happening more.
and the more I see it, the more impassioned I become about it because of the fact that you see how much atrocity there is and how much malpractice there is in this business. And so, you know, that it fuels me. You know, we've created other systems, like I have rescuemyiul.com now, like as a way for people that want free evaluations, they could just go down there. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but like that happens, but that's not why I did it. What we've done is we've created all this content to educate people. And my initial thing was not to sell to clients, consumers, was to save the agents that were going through what I went through, right? To kind of virtually mentor them through this content. That was the purpose of it. And then at the end, what happened was the pandemic happened. And I was working, of all things, in the commercial cleaning space, right? Like, so my clients in the digital marketing space for funnels ended up being commercial cleaning companies. Like,
oh, wow.
Because my first big like client wound up being one, and then we crushed it. And so then, you know, it was what it was.
I didn't realize you had that background. That's
amazing.
amazing.
It was super cool. And so then what happened was the pandemic happened, commercial cleaning, all the Class A buildings got crushed. And so literally when the pandemic happened and everything shut down, I lost 95% of my revenue overnight.
Did they just all shut off their marketing?
Everybody shut it off. And I remember when the owner, my biggest client, Ryan, called me and he's like, I'm sorry, like there's nothing. It might be only a couple weeks. And it was a couple weeks, and then he hired me back. You know, he's like, all right, let's spin it back up. Because remember, there was that moment in time, like it seemed like everything was going to be good again.
Correct.
And then it got shut down again.
It got worse,
so we started back up for like 2 weeks, and then it shut down even worse. And at that moment in time, I'm like, what am I going to do? So I created a program that was like a little consulting package just to kind of like dip my toe in the water for life insurance and to help agents market online, being like, hey, we're going into this new world. People are going to need it. So I did it, and I sold like 16 consulting packages like that. And I was like, wow, this is kind of cool.
That's cool.
I'm back really in the life insurance space. And this is the space I love, you know?
Yeah.
And this is a space that even when I couldn't make any money, it wasn't like I was still dedicating a good portion of my life to it because I'm weird, I guess. I love it, you know? And my wife always picks on me. Like, she's like, you're such a nerd. Like, what is this thing with you and this life insurance stuff? But, so long story short, that led to one thing led to another. 2022, the statute of limitations ended. I got my license again. And then because of all the momentum and the content that I had, and because I had people reaching out to me constantly, agents looking for help, and I had nowhere to help them, we launched an IMO. And we are recruiting, we're recruiting 2 to 3 agents a day right now.
That's awesome.
Like just organically. Because our mission is to save people that have gone down the IUL path, like with PHP, WFG, PFA, all these companies, right? Yeah. I don't know if you want to name companies or not, but like I just do what I do.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of people that join because for the right reasons.
Sure.
People get into this business, and those companies, their mission, their message, like all the way that they sell the vision and the lifestyle and everything is amazing. But then people get in and they're like, this isn't what I was sold, right?
Yeah.
So, you know.
And do you think, so on that note, do you think like that, I'm guessing those companies, when they get so big, like the messaging, like they didn't intend on that maybe, and the messaging gets lost, and then they get recruited really hard by somebody that feeds them a bunch of baloney. You know, I don't know.
I think so. There's IUL, and then there's the IMO side of IUL, like WFG model of IUL. So like if I were to recruit you into IUL or like WFG, for example, just as like, for instance, and I would sell you on the vision and all this stuff and like how powerful the products were, and you wouldn't even know what you don't know yet, right? Like it just, you get in, you don't even know what IUL is yet. You know, you're just like it's all about financial education and literacy and freedom and like, you know, taking control of your money from the government and all this stuff. Okay, it's appealing. And then you get in and they're like, recruit. And like, that's all. Like you start at 30% commission, and then you the only way you get your first raise is to recruit 3 people. It's the biggest moral hazard in the business. It's why our business is falling apart right now in a lot of ways, is because you got the blind leading the blind. You know, and
everybody's gonna love me after this episode too.
I'm sorry. He does not necessarily endorse this message. He's just giving me a platform.
Correct.
You know, I got your back.
Thank you. I'm kidding around, but yes, it is. I mean, it's entertaining, and it's you're sharing what you believe.
Yeah.
And what you've learned.
Yeah. And this is just my life experience.
Which is cool. Yeah.
And when people ask me why, they think I'm making videos to bash IUL,
correct,
to get whole life leads or to whatever.
Yeah.
I'm doing what I do because I feel like I have a responsibility.
And you were doing it before IUL got big.
I was doing it before IUL got big.
I didn't know that.
Way before.
Until now.
I was doing it before
now
IUL
I've got even more
big.
Respect for it.
And I was doing it while I couldn't make any money at all.
Yeah.
Doing it.
Yeah, correct.
I did it for 6 years.
Right.
6 years not being able to make any money from it.
I don't know. I was gonna say that's stupid, but I don't.
It's worked.
Crazy.
It's worked
bro.
out. It's worked out.
It has.
But like I don't know how you spiritually whatever believe, but I just believe it. I'm on a path. I really feel like this is my calling. This is my purpose.
Yes. I'm with you. Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I'm a faith-based individual, but and I also believe that I've been called to do what I do, and I love it.
Exactly.
And I'm just like, yeah, I keep trying to leave. Honestly, like our brand. On that note, like our brand in this industry, has exploded.
Yeah,
and it's a testament to our team.
And I mean,
and spending a lot of money and all the stuff, conferences, etc.
But you're investing in yourself. You're investing in your business, and obviously you're able to do so because other people have seen and believed in you and believed in your message. And so it hasn't 100%. Been this like you didn't go from here to here. You went from here to here to here to here to here.
Yeah, I mean, it was YouTube was the end of 2015.
Totally.
Well, and on that note though, I've tried to leave. I've tried to not leave, but add other industries.
Yeah.
Expand the brand outside of insurance. Mm-hmm. And it may never happen because I keep coming back and I just love it. Like you look at the Cardones, who was auto and now everything business. And I'm like, I'm jealous of that. I'm like, man, I freaking love that.
I know. Me too. Me too.
But I just, could it happen in the future? Yeah, maybe so. Right.
Sure.
Because I'm not nearly as much of a product guy as you are. Sure. Right. Which we're going to get into. Mm-hmm. But I just love helping new insurance agents, man. Yeah. Like I can't, my wife gets annoyed that I keep sharing my new insurance agent story. I made 6 figures in college, door knocking, you know? And she's like, you're so much more than that. And I'm like, yeah, but that's who I am.
And that's what's relatable. That's what's going to influence. That's what's going to impact. Yes. Like sharing our stories, sharing the struggles. Like, you know, what's interesting is, so I was telling you, I was just speaking at the And Asset Mastermind, right? Yes, and so I met this guy who was there, who lived in Vegas, and I was driving from Denver, where the mastermind was, to Vegas for the World Series of Poker. And a guy was there, and we've become really good friends in a really short period of time.
That's awesome.
Because he took a 14-hour drive. He's like, maybe I'll ride with you to Vegas. And I'm like, all right, hop in the back of the Jeep, let's go. And so like literally the whole ride to Vegas, we were talking and I shared my story, and my wife, you know, we're sitting in the front of the Jeep and we're sharing our story about the struggles, right? Yeah. Like a lot of people look at, I mean, you know how it goes. They look at like 100%. We just hit 30,000, which is not 120 whatever thousand that you have, but but
dude, that's great.
But we hit 30,000 followers.
It's hard to do.
You know, and it didn't grow a lot until 2022. You know, I think we're at like 4,000 followers in 2022, and so you know it's growing.
It's grown a lot.
It's grown a lot. But what's crazy to me is like the leads that we get, the sales that we get, the agents that we recruit, all these things, and the growth of the agency. I mean, we're at 800 agents now.
That's awesome, dude.
You know, and it's like
that's a lot. That's
all organically. No ad spend.
Yeah.
No ad spend.
I'm very impressed with that. Yeah.
No ad spend at all. And it's because the message resonates.
You also have you also have a digital marketing background.
Yeah.
So like, is there a point where you like start pouring some fuel on the fire? Or?
Yeah, we're going to. We have a couple projects in the works.
I believe it. You always have projects in the works.
It's actually
that.
I have.
It's hard not to though. You're wired that way.
Yeah, but I have a project right now. I'm debating if I can say it or not.
Have you ever said it on video?
No.
Well, now's the time.
Right. It is potentially my most exciting project I've ever done. I love Life 180.
Yeah.
I love what we're doing. But in the context of of, and the reason I haven't really talked about it a lot is because I don't know how it's all going to play out.
Sure.
I don't know what the business model behind it's going to be.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm called to disrupt this industry. I know that I believe there are no such thing as good and bad products. It's just, are they good and bad for you? Are they good and bad to solve the problems that you're looking to solve?
I love that you said that.
I don't have a problem with IUL. I sell IUL, you know?
Yeah.
We were talking about this a little before.
We were.
But we don't sell it for tax-free income because I don't believe it works that way. In fact, I can show mathematically, historically, it doesn't work that way. I've created the IUL challenge. By the way, just side note, IUL challenge. Have you ever heard of this? I created the IUL challenge because IUL sold on upside potential.
I did see something about this briefly because
So
I remember that language. Yeah.
So IUL is sold on upside potential and downside protection.
Yeah.
And so we just came through the greatest bull run of all time. How many times do you hear people say that IUL illustrations are conservative? All the time.
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody that sells them says they're conservative,
Yeah.
right? So if IUL illustrations are conservative,
also a lot of language is used like worst case scenario.
right?
Yeah.
So they say they're conservative or worst case scenario, whatever.
Or
And-
this is never going to happen, or
Right.
these are
Yeah.
never going to happen, right?
Exactly.
I get that. Yeah.
And so then we just came through the greatest bull run of all time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with a product that gives upside potential and downside protection, coming through the greatest bull run of all time, with illustrations that are quote unquote conservative, that means that the illustrations should have underperformed how the policies actually performed because you're participating in the index. And if the index had the greatest bull run of all time, policies should have outperformed, right?
Yeah.
So I'm all about like taking these, like all the complex moving parts and the numbers and whatever, because I understand it all and trying to break it down simply, right? Like and trying to pragmatically and being like real life scenarios, right? And so then I said, all right, if that's the case, every policy should have outperformed the way that it was sold, right? We should be able to. So I put together this IUL challenge, and initially I said, I'll give somebody $500 if you can show me the original illustration that you sold and a current in-force illustration of a policy that's 10 years old, because it's got to be at a surrender period, 10 years old. And I just want to show that during the greatest bull run, I want one policy that shows that the cash value in the policy matches currently what it said it would have 10 years ago during the greatest bull run.
Or
matches to the penny or more.
Okay.
Or more.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But I'm saying
I know there was like a range.
just
or like,
no, or more.
Okay.
Have it show at least what it said it would have, basically, is what it comes down to, or more.
Did you find a bunch that were like close?
No. So here's the thing. So I've had a lot of people chirping, being like, I've got a policy that qualifies, but it's only 8 years old. Okay, sure you do. Like a lot of people that say a lot of things in Facebook chats and all this stuff in threads to
I can't
make
even
it.
imagine Facebook
Oh my gosh,
groups.
it's insane.
You
It's
just drop
insane.
and destroy
It's insane.
Facebook
Oh, it's
groups.
insane. It's completely
Talk about
bonkers.
disrupting.
Yeah. And so like I offered $500, nobody took. I upped it to $1,000, nobody took. I upped it to $2,500, nobody took. Denzel Rodriguez said he'd add $1,000 to it, got to $3,500, nobody took. I upped it to $5,000, nobody took. Chris Noggle from Money Multiplier offered to double it. So we're at $10,000.
Right now.
If somebody can show me an illustration that's 10 years old with a current,
Are they going to say that it just wasn't sold that much back then?
that would be a lie. That's
well,
not
compared
true.
to now.
Compared to now, but like, but the principle is if they didn't work. So here's the deal. People get into this business. And they buy into the, like, and this is why I do what I do. I'm like I'm the guy that's not afraid to throw a grenade in the room and see what happens.
True.
Right?
As your wife is entering the room with some coffee, by the way, which is awesome.
What's up?
Yes.
Thank you. No, you're
You're
good.
okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. I love that. This is amazing. This is so cool. You're
No,
good.
it's cool.
You're good.
You're
You're good.
You're
We're-
good.
No, you're okay.
you go.
We're still live, but this is
We're-
great. It's
we're
your
good.
anniversary.
I should turn and say hello. They just got my backside.
Feel free, please. Whatever's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. We're
So-
chilled. This is great, though. Thank you so much. You're awesome.
No, we're totally good.
Yeah.
Friends,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We'll be friends. It's all good.
For sure. That's one thing I respect a ton. We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
And I want to jump right back where you were.
Yeah.
You should be able to still. I'm not saying you're gonna be best friends with people, but you should be able to have debates and conversations, and like not want to kill people. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it's just
Yeah.
that's crazy to me. Like I
Well,
wasn't raised that way.
If you're
you know?
thinking logically and if you're using intellect
Yeah.
and not emotion.
Yeah.
The people
Correct.
that go that route are the people that are driven by
Now,
emotion.
okay, so on this note, before you jump back, one
Yeah.
question then. Can you have a heated debate with somebody,
Yeah.
them still disagree with you,
Yeah.
and you be cool with them?
Oh, totally. I mean, like
There you go.
we were just at the End Asset Mastermind debating, and then everybody watching was shocked to see me and the guy I debated against. I gave him a ride to dinner. We sat next to each other
That's
at dinner.
awesome.
We were
I
hanging
love
out and
that.
having fun.
I love
Like,
that. I love that.
It was
That's so
like,
good because that's not normally the case. So I love hearing that.
It's not a personal thing.
Correct.
My belief is like, you don't have to agree with me completely, but my belief is like, if you're selling IUL right now, you're where I was when I was selling. You just don't know what you don't know. That's my belief.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the reason I create all the content I do isn't to sell or bash or whatever. It's to try to save people who are where I was. That's it.
Got it.
That's it.
Okay.
You know?
That's good. Also, where were we
That's
at?
I don't remember.
'Cause it was-
where were we?
I'm trying to remember. The coffee's really good, by the way.
It is.
This is amazing. No, this is good. This is good.
I went to your place, so I hope you like it.
Oh, you went to a kingdom.
Yeah.
Dylan's idea.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's very good.
So, where were we?
I think we were talking. Oh, yes,
Oh
yes.
yeah.
Dylan, well
Look at
Good
Dylan.
job.
He was
Are
listening.
you're actually paying attention? This is good stuff.
Do you always listen this well, or are you just like enjoying this one?
Okay.
He said,
All
he
right.
does. He said,
Got
not
it.
always.
All right. So,
Okay, cool.
all right. So,
also, the back and forth banter of this episode is almost, I mean, possibly my favorite episode of all time. Like,
Really?
I'm just gonna throw it out there.
That's awesome.
You guys can disagree in comments. Feel free to hate on Chris, but you still gotta love me.
yeah,
okay?
hate me, love
Just
him.
kidding,
It's good.
Just kidding.
so
He's used to it, by the way.
I
and
am.
when you build a brand, dude, there's so many people that like, and that's cool. We're hanging out.
Yeah.
Dude, I think I get trashed on in Facebook groups more than anyone else in the industry.
Really?
I think in the history of the industry.
go
but
to
a lot of people just misunderstood.
yeah. Totally.
Which
there's no
we
doubt.
said that about each other. Yeah.
Well, and I was saying that before and my wife will attest to this, is like, I feel like I'm the most misunderstood person.
I think you're trying to pass me. That's what I think.
Like, but we
You
have
keep it
this,
up, it's probably gonna happen.
But we have this IUL challenge, and we've gotten it. So this is what I want to say is like,
Yeah. Actually, can I add something real quick
Yeah,
before you
go
get the
for it.
challenge?
Go for it.
The biggest thing that I think the reason I do is because I'm building an audience, flashy,
yeah,
and selling stuff all the time.
yeah.
It offends
That is
people.
the one thing I've heard about you.
That offends. Yeah.
Anybody
all
that
true.
has ever said anything about you to me is like, he's always selling something, and I'm like, well, he's a sales guy. Like,
There's
I mean,
no
Grant
doubt about
Cardone's
it.
always selling something. Like,
No doubt about it.
Right.
Yes. Now.
and look what you've built because you're always selling something.
Well, that's true. Thank you. Yes.
you know,
Yes.
I mean, this is pretty cool.
Do I feel like, and you probably agree with this, do I feel like I lose people sometimes to where I don't get a chance, they don't get a chance to get to know me, I don't get a chance to know them because that's their first inkling. Because I have people
Sure.
at conferences all the time, they walk up and they're like, man, dude, I thought you were just like this flashy jerk online, and then I got a chance to meet you, and now I like you and I think you're normal. And
Totally.
I'm like, what did you think about me before?
Yeah.
You know, so it's just
Well, in fairness, I didn't really know you that well until I met you at the NAFA conference at the Biltmore.
okay, cool.
And that
Yeah.
was like, I'd seen you, but I didn't
Yeah.
really know you. And then I watched you on stage, and I was like, oh, this guy. And then we got to talk a little bit. And,
Yeah.
and so that was like,
Cool.
luckily, my first
point.
impression, right?
Yeah,
So that's a good
true.
thing. So that's a good thing.
Correct. Yeah. But I feel like too, if people spent any amount of time with someone,
Yeah.
a lot of their just preconceived notions would go away.
I think so, for the most part.
I think that's true for almost everybody on the planet.
Totally.
Now, are you going to like everyone?
No.
No. Like there's,
Yeah.
I do podcasts where I'm like bored out of my mind sometimes, right? I hate to say that, but that's
Yeah.
true.
That's the way it is.
Yeah. That's what okay. So this IUL challenge started with like $500. Now we're at 10
We're
grand.
at 10 grand, and nobody's been able to win. Nobody's been willing to step up.
Wild.
And so here's my thing is I don't care. This is the challenge with IUL is that it never performs as it's sold. And a lot of people, and I want to call out because
And I said like, hey, maybe they're going to say it wasn't sold as much back then. So there's very few that are 10 years old.
but
It was sold.
it was sold.
Do I think it's sold more now?
Yeah. But
sure,
that doesn't
but-
change the concept that they're
No.
like,
I get that.
is it fair if you're in the business now, and let's say you started 2 years ago,
Yep.
3 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever it is, that you should have a mentor,
Yeah.
right? And your mentor you should have somebody in your life that's been doing this at least 10 years, Fair enough?
It shouldn't be that hard to find.
It shouldn't be that hard to
I
find.
would agree.
Okay.
Yes.
So nobody's been able to win. You know, and you know, going back to kind of what we were talking about with you and always selling things and whatever.
Correct.
It's okay. Like there are certain types of products and policies and whatever where it just takes selling, and that's cool. You know, like that you're not going to hurt anybody. You know, it's not my style. It's not the way I would want to do things. Like I would not be a follower of yours, like learning how to sell like that, because that's not like what I would do.
Yeah.
But for some people, it's absolutely amazing.
So you're not going to consume 100% of my content forever after today.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like it is what it is. Where I think it gets tricky, right? And this is going to be probably one of the more polarizing parts of this conversation.
He did tell you to buckle your seatbelt real quick. Okay?
Is where I think it's tricky, and this is where I have real hard lines, and I won't chase money, and I won't, you know, it is what it is, probably to my detriment sometimes. But you have a model that with final expense and mortgage protection and all these things that you've done amazing things. You've built this amazing brand, right?
Thank you. When
you shift into doing things with IUL, the challenge is you bring people from that space into the IUL space, into the cash value life insurance space, the life insurance as an asset to help us reach our financial goals space, right? The ramifications, the consequences, the good, the bad, the ugly about that is much greater. The responsibility, the knowledge base, I would agree with all that. Has to be higher.
Now, do I think they're coming into that space with or without me? I do, but I agree with you. Yeah.
So that's the challenge. And I'm not saying that it's your responsibility to shift everybody, right?
And I'm not recruiting anybody, so it's not like you know, I'm not making any money off of. Now, if I sell some more IUL leads, great. Maybe I need to create some whole life leads, whatever, you know, to compensate. I'd be down for that. But and also too, it's crazy because I think it is weird that people deep down get offended when they're a salesperson. They get offended that somebody else is trying to sell them something. Dude, I think it's weird.
Really? I love it when people try to sell me stuff.
No, I
have
do too.
Like mad respect.
I do too.
Yeah.
No, I think it's weird that other people get offended by it.
Yeah.
I don't get offended by it. Clearly, I mean, I'm like literally trying to sell everybody something all the time. You know what I mean? Like,
I love it.
I just do, but I think that's weird. I think you have less belief in yourself, or you feel like you have less self control.
Yeah.
If you get offended, like it's people that like say, I will never go to conferences where they try to sell me something.
Oh gosh.
Or the pitching.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've got self-control to choose whether I buy something or not. I'm a grown adult. Now, there's very little, like I'm the only one that actually tries to sell anything at 8% at all. Was that true initially? No, but is it true now? Yes.
Sure.
I'm the only one that pitches. Try to come to 8%. And dude, if you follow our brand or you're on our email list at some point, I'm just telling you, you're going to end up buying something. Like it's hard not to.
What I would say is like when I hear you, I just have respect. Like it goes back to what I was saying about that Dean Graziosi said is like you have to believe so much in what you do that not sharing it with people would be a disservice. Amen. So you I mean, I've seen walking around the building here, it's impressive. Your sales team, the infrastructure, the support you have, the technology you have, like you've done an amazing job. And
it's been tough doing it with nobody else has really done it this way.
Right. Yeah. You're
in the same way you're doing something very unique.
We're both doing something completely different. Yeah. We're doing it in our own unique ways.
Correct.
But you're trailblazing and that's hard, you know, and there's no way around it. But like to anybody that ever criticizes you on that, I'll say, if you're watching this and you're critical of him, I would say like, after getting to know him, like I genuinely believe, like you believe so much in what you're doing and you believe in your ability to impact people. And it's been proven. I mean, you've got the results. Like,
true. It's been cool.
One of the struggles that I have, because you do a lot more training and courses and stuff like that than I do. I've done a little bit about that, and I think I want to do more of it. That's something I'm going to step more into probably in the next phase. But you know, one of the things that I always struggled with, and I went through Brennan Burchard's high performance coaching stuff.
Yes.
And I was talking to Brennan, and I was like, you know, like what's the, like, how do you reconcile? Like, and I remember being at this event where people paid $2,000 to be there, and there was like 1,500 people in the room.
That's awesome.
I'm like, how do you reconcile that you got 1,500 people here that just paid you $2,000? You made $3 million from this event, minus expenses and all that stuff. But like 200 of them are actually going to do anything with this stuff that you're talking about. Like, you know that.
If that.
But if that, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, how do you wrap your head around the fact that you're not just like taking money from people? And he's like, Chris, that's not the thing. Like, he goes, if people want personal coaching, they can get personal coaching. And if they want results and accountability and all this stuff, that package costs a lot more, you know? For the $2,000 price point, this is what you get. And it's not on me to make sure they get results.
Love
it's
that.
on me
It's
to
hard
make
to
sure.
understand.
Right. And I'm just telling this to everybody, like,
So
it's
good.
on me to create the content that I know if they do the work, it will get them where they want to be.
Correct.
Whether or not they do the work is not on me.
Correct.
Right. And that's a thing. And so
good.
you've done the work, you have the results. It obviously works.
Yeah.
Right. And so then it just comes a question of people buy stuff all the time and then do nothing with it. Right.
Correct.
So
Correct.
people will come in and if they don't execute, then that's on them. And so you're just doing a great job of sharing your passion and belief and the impact, and you would be doing a disservice to the industry and everybody that you come across if you didn't sell it.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
Man, let's go.
So there's my sales pitch for Cody.
I love that, bro. Thank you.
Unsolicited sales pitch.
That's amazing.
So.
Okay, so let's get into this. And we have been going literally
I told you it would be more than
over
an
an
hour.
hour.
I told you,
bro.
this is
Oh
just-
my gosh, dude. That's amazing.
2 episodes. 2 episodes.
Yeah, we got whatever. I love it. Why
Yeah.
whole life
Yeah.
for income over IUL? With like,
Oh,
let's get
okay.
a little bit more. Well, I'm
right.
not saying we got to get crazy deep, but a little bit more specific.
All right. So philosophically,
Okay.
okay, I'm a big believer we need to align our money with our values and beliefs.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you some high level stuff, like, and I'll kind of rhetorical. I'll answer
Sure,
it, but
sure.
like, life insurance companies
Yeah.
are some of the most stable financial institutions, probably the most stable financial institutions in the history of the world, right?
Yeah.
So participating mutually held life insurance companies have been around since the 1840s, right? Since before the Civil War, right?
Wow.
Like, they've gone through 3 different versions of the US dollar. They've managed the risk along the way. So when I talk about utilizing whole life insurance as a savings alternative, okay, I don't believe life insurance should ever be an investment alternative, fundamentally speaking, okay? Because life insurance companies don't invest well. That's not what they do. Life insurance companies do one thing better than any other financial institution in the world, and one thing only. They will get you the best rate of return possible with the least amount of risk possible. That's it.
Yeah. Very, very. Yeah.
That's not a sexy conversation,
No, it's
because those
very
are not
conservative.
crazy great returns.
Yeah.
I was talking, do you know?
They're not gamblers. by
No,
any
not at
means.
all.
Yeah.
They're always playing the long game,
Yeah.
right? So I was talking to, do you know who Tom Wall is? He runs Whole Life Masterminds.
Gosh, I don't know. That
He's
I
an
do.
awesome guy. He wrote the book Permission to Spend. It's
so
amazing.
crazy. Our worlds are like so
I-
different because I don't. I
Yeah.
know all these people that you don't know. And
Yeah,
same. It's
totally.
like wild.
So he wrote a book called Permission to Spend. He's got a PhD in retirement income.
Okay.
He's a brilliant guy.
Wow.
Okay. He was like high level guy with Mass Mutual, left, went on his own, is doing his own thing.
Cool.
Just brilliant guy.
Wow.
He did a study on bonds over the last 80 years, I think. Okay. And he showed that for every 80-year period, whole life insurance over the last 80 years, every 10-year period, during every rolling 10-year period, right? Whole life underperformed bonds. Underperformed.
Wow.
So it doesn't sound good. So people go, why would I buy whole life
Dang.
if I could just buy bonds, right? Like,
I feel like bonds are
I'll,
like.
I'll invest in bonds and I'll buy term insurance, like, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what people would say. Every 30-year period, whole life outperformed bonds. And the crazy part is when we look at 2021, 2022, 2023, and we look at the 60-40 bond portfolio traditionally, and when we look at when the market went down and then bond portfolios also lost significantly, it was the first time 2 years in a row that the 60-40 portfolio failed ever in history. And if you look at the yield curve right now, like now I'm gonna get like it's
you're gonna lose
everything
pretty soon.
everything is showing that it's gonna get worse, and we're still kind of upside down. So by buying whole life, you basically have a better bond. That's it.
Got it.
It's a better bond with other benefits attached to it. You have liquidity. I wrote a book called Cash Flow Hacking.
Yep.
We utilize leveraging whole life insurance to buy real estate. My fundamental belief is you should never risk money inside of a whole life policy. So when you put your money into a whole life policy, the guarantees, I'm a big believer of looking at what's the upside, what's the downside. Can I live with the downside? When you look at the guarantees, that's the downside. I use an analogy all the time. Like you're a business owner, right? Mm-hmm. So let's use this scenario. You have an opportunity to invest, and you got two businesses you can invest in. Okay. So I'm gonna kind of role play both people. Okay. Yeah. So out of one guy, I'm gonna come up to you and I'm gonna say, hey, listen, Cody, I got a really good business idea for you. I want you to look at this projection. I want you to look at the prospectus of this business. Okay. Mm-hmm. And you look at it and you're like, oh, this is really good. And in the contract, it says, all right, Cody, you invest in this business. As soon as you put your money in this business, you no longer have any control. You're a silent partner. You're giving me full control. You get whatever returns I deem possible. Yeah. And then obviously you're going to
know me real well.
You're going to interview me, right? And you're going to be like, well, how long have you been doing this, Chris? Right? Yeah. And I'll be like, you know what? I've been doing this for about 20 years, right? Cool. Which sounds good.
Sounds good.
But in the world, that we're talking, it's not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It sounds good. So I've been doing it 20 years and you go, well, what are your results? Well, my results haven't been great to this point, but I think I figured it out at this point in time. Moving forward, it's going to be better from here forward. And look at these projections. It's really good. Right?
You're setting this up really well.
Right?
Yes.
And you go, okay. And well, when am I going to get my money back? Like, what are the guarantees? Yeah. Well, there are no guarantees for you, but like, look at how big and attractive these numbers are. Look at what the upside could potentially be. Right. Yeah. And a savvy business person like you is going to be like, well, what's the downside risk?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, oh, don't look at those. Like that'll never happen. Don't worry about that. And
now you sound like the average insurance agent.
A sophisticated person is going to run the other direction.
Sure.
Conversely, you have another business that you have an opportunity to invest in, and you go to that and you look at it and you go, well, the numbers don't look quite so big. Like the growth isn't quite so big.
Maybe
right?
That's why banks tend to like more conservative, projections.
But then when we start getting into the interview process of it and you say, hey, Chris, what is the arrangement of this contract like from a business perspective? And I say, listen, Cody, we've been doing this for 180 years. We've weathered every market, every storm, every economy, 3 different versions of the dollar. Like we know how to build businesses. And what I can promise you is that come hell or high water, our first obligation is to make you whole. That's it. You have a preferred position in this. That's it. And while the upside may not be as high, there's still upside, right? It's just the philosophy and the principle. And that's whole life compared to the previous one is IUL, right? And when we talk about values and beliefs, it comes down to control. People don't realize this. The power of putting money in with a life insurance company. I don't know if you know how this works or not, but like the power of putting money, when I put my money in a whole life policy, I'm basically putting it to them and I'm saying, you manage that risk for me. I want to take my safe money rather than, at least this is how I sell it philosophically. Sure. Okay. Rather than taking my money and putting it in a bank, I'm going to give it to the life insurance company because they're more stable than a bank. They're going to get better returns than a bank, right? I'm going to get additional benefits and living benefits and, all these things that I wouldn't get with a bank, right? So it's a better bank, right? It's a better bank. It's a better bond.
So where infinite banking came from?
It's where it came from. Yep. And when I look at it from that perspective, and I look at the fact that I'm going to get better long-term returns than a bond, I'm going to have liquidity like a money market account, I'm going to have tax advantages like a muni bond, and I'm going to get bond-like long-term returns, that becomes powerful, right? Yeah. But it's not an investment. I'm not taking risk. That's all guaranteed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And now the dividends, people would say, oh, well, you can't say it's not guaranteed. Like the dividends aren't guaranteed, but they've been paid every year for 180 years. Like They've never missed. So it's about as guaranteed as non-guaranteed gets. You know what I mean? Whereas with what happens is, so when I put money in a whole life policy, I'm basically giving it to the general fund manager of the insurance company saying, please just manage my safe money risk of my portfolio. And when I want to leverage that money to go take actual risk, I'm going to do it. Right?
Okay.
Take a policy loan to build a business like this. Take a policy loan to buy a real estate investment.
Yeah.
Doing what we did in the Dominican, right? Like that kind of stuff.
Correct.
You know what I mean? I'm going to take risk in things I can control, right? I never want to take things in. That's just a fundamental belief of mine. I'm never going to take risk in things that I don't have control in. People think I'm a psychopath because
well, that's Warren Buffett-ish too. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. But like when you put your money in an IUL, you're stripping the life insurance company of their ability. Like that's the crazy part. Because you're rather than like letting them managing it, you're basically saying, hey, the money that you would normally pay me a dividend with, I want you to take that and buy options and speculate with it
to the S&P.
And I got news for you. If the life insurance could go get you a 6.5% return conservatively, I promise you in a world where they're struggling to make 4.5%, they'd be doing that for themselves. That's more than 50% better. It's about 50% better than what their returns are in the general fund. If they could do that for you predictably and consistently and it was reliable, they'd be doing it themselves, but it's not. And history has proven it. I mean, that's the reality. History has proven it. If you look back, and people say to me, it's not fair. You can't do an IUL challenge without a whole life challenge. Whole life should not and should never, and I would never sell it as an investment alternative with upside potential, right? It's a savings alternative. The performance of whole life is going to follow the fixed market. Period. Long term, it's going to outperform bonds. But as interest rates go down, so too will dividend rates. So too will the performance of the whole life policy. And if we hit this world where interest rates go up, it'll perform better. If we educate people as to what they're buying rather than just trying to sell them a product, that it's going to solve all their problems, that's the problem. The biggest challenge I have with IUL salespeople is that they sell them as a great alternative to a 401k. And they sell them as you need to get control of your money.
Right.
You need to get it out of the government. You're not taking control of your money. You're simply shifting control from the government to the insurance company.
Okay, so let's get into that.
That's it.
You're right in that IUL versus 401k, which isn't even the topic of this video, but like IUL is compared to 401k, and that is how it is sold at least a large percentage of the time. Right? That's what, I mean, ads 100%. Are comparing 100%. It, right? I personally stay away from like the IUL versus 401k ads.
Sure.
But that's the norm
for
lead generation. Thank you.
Sure.
That's the norm for lead generation. Well, you know what? I used to, and then I kept getting some feedback on like, dude, you shouldn't be doing that. And then I started researching. I'm like, you know what? Okay, let's just talk about like the benefits of life insurance.
Not only that, man, is like people that are doing that, they don't realize how exposed they are, like compliantly.
Yeah.
Like if you're securities licensed and you sell IUL, that's one thing. Then you can do whatever kind of like, not whatever you want, but you have a compliance department looking over your registered ads and all that stuff.
Correct.
But if you're just a life insurance agent and you're pitching that,
and then you're giving people's advice about a 401k,
you are opening yourself up to so many lawsuits. Like it is insane. Like, but that is the norm in this business right now.
Yeah, it is.
You know, and what's interesting is, I said I'd just done these debates with IUL agents.
Yeah.
One of the guys, like his whole pitch was like, I sell IUL, but like I don't think most people should. And I'm like, well, explain that more. He goes, well, we have a team, and that team manages and rebalances and all this stuff. And I'm like, that sounds a lot like an equity. Like, if it requires that much active management, is it really a fixed product? Should it be a fixed product?
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. And realistically speaking, the guy's 44 years old. He's selling it to a bunch of 25, 35-year-olds. When he's retired, or if he dies or something, because life happens, and his clients' products aren't able to get actively rebalanced,
right,
what happens to them at that point in time? You know? And so like there's all these things that come into it. But philosophically speaking, when I was preparing for my talk last week, one of the things that hit me, and it hit me like a 2x4 in the face, was like, when did it become okay to speculate with life insurance? Where I come from, life insurance is supposed to be a foundational core asset in our life. for emergency, for opportunity, for the death benefit, for legacy planning, all these things.
True.
When did it become okay to speculate on with life insurance? And with IUL, that's all you're doing is you're speculating. And people like to sell that you can't lose. You can lose all the time. People used to sell UL you couldn't lose.
I saw a lot of those illustrations plummet back in the day. That was when I first started insurance.
And
I got my license the end of 2010.
Right. And so you saw the
part-time intern 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then 2012, I really started seeing those illustrations that were bought in the 90s as a universal life.
Yeah.
I guess that's where the GUL came from, because they're like, okay, these we need to put the word guaranteed on it because these are just not doing well. Yeah.
Right. Because they put they once again, it's just a different use case, right?
Yeah.
The GUL, the ULs were sold for income. That's what they were sold for, right? And they failed.
Do you think, I hate to even say this, but do you think that we're headed down that road again without even realizing it?
Here's my thoughts are, the problem with IUL is that people are not even going to realize they have a problem until it's too late. And that's why I try to make as much noise as I do about it.
How do they find out if they have a problem?
When they get a bill in the mail saying that their policy is going to lapse if they don't make a payment. And they're going to be like, well, I was told I got tax-free income.
That sounds too late.
That is way too late. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like,
well, how do they check on it every year to see if it's?
Well, you can get a policy statement. The challenge is what's really challenging is you can sell a policy right now that, I'll say it this way: companies have sold policies that had cap rates at 12, 13%. I sold policies back when I was in there that's 16.5% cap rates. Mind-numbing, right?
Yeah.
What people don't understand is that, cap rates go down, right? And so when we were running cap rates at 16.5%, because that's just was the market, right? We were running illustrations conservatively at 7.5%. But now the crazy part is the cap rate on those products that we sold at 16.5% that were illustrated at 7.5%, the cap rates on those products now are 8. 8. So now, with the illustrations, those people, they're never going to be, there's zero chance they're going to perform that way. No matter what, best design, best intention, best whatever, there are things that are out of our control. Now, the market is different now. The variables are different. We're starting with lower cap rates. But the bottom line is, what people need to understand is that the performance of your IUL has nothing to do with the performance of the underlying index. It doesn't. Because what is happening is you're taking your money, a portion of it is going to the insurance premium, and the cash value portion is going into the general fund. The general fund is creating an options budget, right? Say like if you got 10 grand, right? What they're doing is the life insurance company, remember I said, instead of giving you a dividend, the life insurance company will say, well, we know with that $10,000 that we're going to be able to create a 4.5% return.
Yeah.
That's what we know.
Yeah.
And so rather than saying we're going to pay them back the dividend in their policy, we're going to take that dividend, we're going to speculate with it. They create an options budget with a portion of it. So maybe they take 4% of that 4.5%, $400 on 10,000. And they go buy call options. That's it. And so the variables of how the policy performs really has to do with what's our options budget and what are the cost of the call options. Period. That's it. If you don't understand options intimately, you should never buy an IUL.
Interesting.
If you do and you still want to take the risk, go nuts. But the problem is the people that are buying these things are not that educated about it.
Yeah.
They don't understand all these things, and the people that are savvy and sophisticated typically, go the other direction, and if you saw all the horrible policies, if you saw all the lawsuits that are going on right now and people that are coming to me and showing me policies. I had a guy that put $1.5 million into a policy over 5 years, and it's like the surrender charges and everything. He's only got like $800,000 in it now, and
oh no,
it's a
how
really
long was that?
It's currently in process right now. I mean, he bought it 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like we're currently working with him on this right now.
Jeez. Did he go through the website?
He came through YouTube. Yeah.
That's awesome. Did he go to the rescue site or no?
Yeah, he went to the rescue site and he submitted all his information. We have a whole policy upload.
So is it the same channel that you do like agent and consumer?
I have one channel.
Yeah, cool.
Cool. I have one channel and it's my goal is just to educate and just get content out there. I'm honestly not as organized about it as maybe as I should be, to really capitalize, but between running the private equity fund and the hotel and the agency and creating content and
you said I was busy.
All this stuff. No, I mean, but like I get, I do a lot of the stuff on the road,
Yeah.
But
it's cool.
I look at it and I think a day of reckoning is coming. And one of my first mentors, I have this habit of like trusting people too much.
Sure.
We want to see good in people. We want to like whatever.
100%.
And it used to be a thing I would do a lot where somebody would kind of screw me over and then I give them another chance and then it'd be worse later. You know what I mean? It's like, why didn't I see that the first time?
Correct.
And I remember my first mentor, Jim, he was just like, Chris, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. Right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people that think IUL is a good alternative to 401k, I would argue all the companies that are doing this now have a track record. They have a history. Look at how they handled their clients with the ULs and how they handled those and the policy lapses and what happened. Remember, with a whole life policy, with a participating mutual company, you are a business partner of the company. As long as that company is solvent, you will be profitable. Maybe the policy perform better or worse, but it's going to be based on the profitability of the company and the success of the company. And in different markets, you'll have different performances. And long term, it'll be better than a bond. Period. Yeah. It's not going to be sexy. The challenge is IUL agents are bastardizing and stealing the success. How many IUL ads have you seen being like, do what Ray Kroc did, do what JCPenney did, do what all these, they didn't do IUL.
Yeah.
Garrett Gunderson, you know Garrett?
Yeah.
So Garrett's a buddy of mine, right? So
he spoke at my 2022 conference.
Yeah. So what would the Rockefellers do? He just wrote a new version of it because I was like, Garrett, people are using your book to sell IUL. He's like, the Rockefellers would never use IUL. So he did that and he wrote a whole front part of the book basically saying, hey, I rewrote this book because all you IUL agents are misrepresenting what this is about.
Yep.
And so it's just, if we get away from the hype, if we get away from all the misrepresentation on illustrations and we start talking about principles and values and goals and objectives, then we realize our values and beliefs are actually in alignment with whole life.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. And by participating with a whole life company, we're partnering with them versus with an IUL, we're being a profit center for the company. That company might still be there 150 years from now.
Correct.
Doesn't mean your policy is going to be good.
Yes.
With a whole life, if the company's there, you're solid. Yeah. That's the difference.
Yeah, I would think something that happens, quite a bit that probably people should do more of is they should do some product knowledge.
Oh, totally.
A little bit more. Just and understand what you're someone's coming by to say hello.
No.
But just more in general, why just understanding what you do and what you offer. It's so easy to just jump in an industry, be thrown a product. This is any industry.
Yeah.
And not truly understand what you're selling. I get that. Like,
the challenging part is I think there's so much confirmation bias, right? Because I'm listening to this book, Ego is the Enemy.
Yeah, you mentioned
that.
Right, cool.
So we listened to it on the way here. I've listened to it twice in the last week.
Wow.
Sitting at the poker table. It's that good.
I got a couple books to read now.
Yeah, and so like what's interesting is I remember when I had this realization and I had to make a decision, right? In middle of 2014, and I had to make this decision because I realized like, wow, what I'm doing is not in alignment with who I want to be and what I say I'm doing for people. So I need to make a shift either in how I'm selling it or whatever. And then there's the realization like, holy crap, I've got a lot of people in my life that I've put into this and they did it based on my sales pitch, based on my recommendation, based on my relationship, based on their belief in me. And now I have to go back to them. And we have this tipping point where you either say, I'm going to let my ego get bigger and I'm not going to, like I'm going to like dig my heels in the sand and be like, no, like it's not my fault, whatever. Or I'm going to take massive accountability and full responsibility and not let my ego get out of control. And I'm going to take ownership and responsibility and apologize and also let them know like, hey, this is what we have to do from here forward, and good, bad. And some people were pissed. Like,
I'm sure.
Some people lost.
So you literally went back to the old.
Every single client. Every single client. It was the hardest 6 months of my life.
Wow. How many ish?
163 clients.
Like you didn't know.
Every one but one converted or just stopped. Some of them converted to just a regular term policy. Some of them we transitioned to GUL. Some of them we transitioned to whole life, 1035 when available. One client kept it because in the period of time that it happened, he developed cancer. So in that situation, thank God he had insurance.
Amen.
Yeah. And so thank God. And so then we had to come up with a funding mechanism, and I didn't feel so bad about it because he wasn't using it for tax-free income.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we could make sure and manage the risk and the net amount at risk and all the cost of insurance as he gets older to handle it, and he has insurance. And so that's a beautiful thing.
That is,
right?
Yes.
And
Amen.
so thank God, right? So, they always say the best insurance policy you have is the one that you have the day you die, right? Like,
yeah.
And so from that perspective, like I don't want to poo-poo all over IUL.
Sure.
I just think it's one of the reasons I'm writing my book, IUL Exposed, the truth about the most misrepresented product in financial history, is because it's not that it's bad, but people don't realize IUL was not created for this tax-free income. That was a whole story created by a guy named Patrick Kelly, like that did all this in the mid 2000s, and then because of the Great Recession, it caught steam, and then in 2009 it went through the roof. And then from 2009 to now, IUL was around for 12 years. IUL was around almost as long before as it has been since. And it had no traction because it's all marketing. Grant Cardone always says it's not the best product that wins, it's the best marketed product that wins.
Correct.
There's not a doubt in the world. IUL is the best marketed product on the face of the earth, but it's done through smoke and mirrors and lies and misrepresentations.
Best known beats best.
That's it.
From that standpoint, yeah.
That's it. And so I'll argue till my dying day that whole life is the best and IUL is the best marketed. That's it.
Amazing freaking interview, bro. I could go for hours. I'm serious. This has been so good. Like we've been going for about an hour and a half.
Cool.
Amazing though. Like, especially you're driving, you stop in, hang out, do this. Like it means a ton.
Thanks, man. I've been looking forward to this. It was good.
Dude,
this is fun.
We could keep going too, man. It's so good. If they want to continue to follow you and what you're doing and learn more, what should they do?
You could just go to at Life180 on YouTube. You could put a link in the description below if you want. And then I'm on Instagram at Real Chris Kirkpatrick.
That's right.
TikTok at Real Chris Kirkpatrick. Anytime anybody wants anything, they can email me directly. I try to make I answer all my own. I do too, but like I feel like I said, I feel like a calling to it, and like especially with this stuff, Chris at life180.com.
Cool.
If you comment, my wife always picks on me that I'm better at responding to YouTube comments than I am at text messages. I remember one time I'm on YouTube going live, and she was trying to call me. I was supposed to pick the kids up from school, and I was live on YouTube, and I forgot because she normally does it. And then finally she had to she was blowing my phone up, and I just kept clicking her over. And then she finally got on to YouTube and was like, hey, you got.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
It was funny, and I'm like, oh guys, gotta go, whatever.
Awesome.
But I love it. You can follow me. YouTube is where I love to live.
Yeah, me too.
It's to me, it's the most creative platform. It's the most educational. It's the one that gives us the best ability, the most search. Yeah, it's the second largest search engine in the world.
Correct.
Behind Google, owned by Google.
Correct.
It is what it is. I just think anybody who's trying to build a business, if you're not doing something on YouTube, you're missing the boat.
Crazy.
But I mean, that's it, man. Like,
amazing.
I would say that.
Well, thank you for being on.
Thanks, bro.
Awesome
No, it's
freaking
an honor.
episode.
It's
It's
awesome.
about time.
Thank you. Yeah. We'll have to do it again. We'll have to
man.
get you down to my studio in the
Yes.
Dominican.
Yes.
Get your family.
Oh, dude,
Travel
I would love
down.
that. That'd be amazing.
Do a
Gosh,
vacation.
dang, that'd be so good.
That'd be cool. We'll put you up
I'm
for
in.
a week.
I'm in. Dominican, I'm in.
Let's go.
Thank you for being on.
Thanks, man.
Okay. Also, appreciate you guys for listening, man. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know in the comments below. Share this thing out. And if you've never tried our CABOOM Leads, you can use coupon code YouTube to get 10% off your very first order on whatever type of leads you want. You can go to kaboomleads.com. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Let us know, both of us, what you thought of this. Hopefully you digested the whole thing. Ton of good information, no matter what you believe. Like, the dude believes what he believes, passionate about it, has a very good argument around everything he talks about, which is awesome, and really understands products, which I wish more people that were actively selling insurance did.
Yeah.
And so hopefully you also, whether you enjoy it or not, hopefully you learned some stuff today. Okay. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next episode. Adios. Hey, if you enjoyed this, I got another one you're going to love. It's right there. Click on it. See you in there. I'm so excited for today's CA Power Player podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. We got a special guest. He is back on the channel talking about how to sell life insurance from home. Here's what I love about this person. Okay, I'm telling you, this will be one of the best.